Our next story is titled, You Should Tell Mom. This was not an uncommon reminder from Jenny's father, and it became even more urgent after he read an email she sent upon her arrival with her host family. The email detailed men drinking at the kitchen table, a bedroom door that wouldn't lock, and a babushka that was nowhere to be found. Let's welcome Jenny Alton.
The bus driver didn't know where he was going. At least, that's what it seemed like to me. We were on a country road, and he would make at least 4 38-point turns in the giant bus that day. This was the end of March, and the snow was melting, slowly receding from last year's crop of sunflowers, and they lay on their sides, sad and brown, sort of yellow. Throughout the day, I and my cluster mates sat in this bus and watched our fellow Peace Corps volunteers, Peace Corps trainees at this point, leave the bus into the welcoming arms of their host families in the various towns and villages that we stopped off in. By the time we arrived in Abuhiv, it was about 11 o'clock at night, and it was pitch black. Shortly before we arrived, my trainer, Fyodor, had turned around, scribbled some names on Post-it notes, and handed them to us. It seems like I was the only one who showed up to Ukraine not having memorized the Cyrillic alphabet first. And I looked at my Post-it note and tried to figure out these strange names. Miroslav, Ludmila, Volodymyr, I don't know. Fyodor, what are these? And he said, these are your host family. This is your host family, and they will welcome you. So we had been taught for 3 days. We had a whirlwind crash course of the Cyrillic language. I learned Russian, learned in quotations, 3 days, mind you. And we learned to expect a welcome dinner, that the family and food was so important. And so we'd all had a very light breakfast that morning, and we were starving. So it's 11 o'clock at night. We pulled into this empty parking lot with a single street light. And as I'm fumbling on the bus to get my bags out, I hear a very deep voice say, Jennifer! So, that's me. So I stumble off of the bus, and I see 2 very large men, and I mean large in every sense of the word, well over 6 feet tall, massive stomachs straining against thick winter sweaters underneath a leather jacket. And they grabbed my bags, threw them in the back of this tiny little car, and I feebly waved my Post-it note at them in an attempt to say, is this you? Are you Ludmila, Volodymyr? Who are you? They nodded, they said some things, and ushered me into the passenger side door. I got in, and I turned to reach for the seatbelt, and found that somehow it was secured to the seat itself. I kind of pulled at it a little bit, and the man in the driver's side reached over, grabbed my arm, and said, no. And off we went. There were no streetlights. It was a winding country road, and we were meandering from right side to left side. And I'd been on a bus all day. I had figured out that Ukrainians drive on the right side of the road, but we spent just as much time on the left side. And I was wondering what on earth was going on. Now, if you saw a picture on the Facebook page, it was a diagram that my students later on really loved to show me. And on one side is a picture of the roads in Europe, what you do if you drunk drive in Europe, and on the other side is a picture of what you do if you drunk drive in Ukraine. Now, if you're sober in Europe, you go straight. If you're drunk, you meander and you go all over the road. Left side, right side, doesn't matter. On the Ukraine side of the picture, the whole thing is covered in potholes, little things and explosions. So, you can imagine if you're sober, you go like this and you avoid the potholes, and it's a very logical thing to do. If you're drunk, you go straight through the potholes. So it was okay. This is what you're supposed to do. When we arrived at the compound, I could hear the laughter from outside, and I was like, wow, the family has stayed up. It's nearly midnight. They're waiting with the feast. I'm going to meet Babushka. I'm going to meet everybody. It's going to be wonderful. Now, when we stepped in the door, the smell was a little strange, something that I would later become familiar with, and it was vodka, and it was vodka samahon, which is a Ukrainian home-distilled vodka. And when they lifted the blanket covering the kitchen door, inside were at least 12 men celebrating, having a grand old time, drinking vodka, just standing around. It seemed fun for them. I said, Dobre utro. Oh, that's good morning. Здравствуйте, that means hello, okay. And they laughed, and I was like, where's my babushka? I don't know what's going on. They led me upstairs and showed me my bedroom, which was obviously the master bedroom that they had moved out of in order for me to stay there, and I was overwhelmed, and I stood there tired, hungry, trying to figure out how to convey my appreciation and how to say, no, this is too much, I don't need this, you know. I must have had such a look on my face that one of the men went over to the bed, opened the sheets, removed the blanket, and pointed at it, and went like this, as though I didn't know how to use a bed. I hoped that this was a symbol in Ukraine that meant, yeah, okay, I got it, good. So we went back downstairs, and I had a dinner with Miroslav, one of the very large men, that consisted of frozen dumplings that he'd boiled and then covered in a mixture of mayonnaise and sour cream. And that was interesting, and the party continued in the kitchen. And then I was so tired, so I went back up to bed, and I discovered that the bedroom door didn't lock, and it was frosted glass, and it looked out onto the living room, and if you were watching TV from the couch, you would be looking into my bedroom, and I was like, who are these people? Who is Volodymyr? Who is Miroslav? I knew Miroslav. Where is Ludmila? Where is my babushka? We'd been taught in these 3 days that if ever you were to find yourself in trouble, you should find an old lady, a babushka, and just act distressed and she would protect you. Where is she? So I was running through my head. I had no cell phone. I had no way to contact Fedya, who is my facilitator, or my cluster mates, and ask, like, who are these people? Is this the right post-it note? I still kind of thought that I'd got the wrong house. And I just was running through my head. No, the Peace Corps wouldn't have sent me into a situation. There's got to be something. And also, I kept my clothes on and kind of slept in my bed with my clothes on, running through different situations. I had brought a Kindle with me, and somehow, wherever I was, there was a 3G wireless signal. So I sent an email to my parents, and that email essentially detailed what I just told you, but read a little more hurried and a little bit more like a ransom note, and then I went to bed. When I woke up, I slept fitfully, but I slept and everything was wonderful. When I woke up and checked my email, I had so many messages from my mom saying that she was going to contact Peace Corps in Washington, and she was unhappy, and she was going to find out what had happened. And then there was a very even-toned email from my father saying, oh, well, you know, we are going to a party today, and everyone has been asking about you, and your mom is in hysterics, and you really should just, if you have the chance, send us an email, and let us know that you haven't been abducted. I love you. You're doing great. Love, Dad. I had breakfast with Miroslav, and I wrote my parents a very quick email saying, yeah, I didn't sleep very well, but I'm good, I'm okay. And Miroslav took me to town. I met with Fedya, and I said, Fedya, who are these people? Where is the babushka? What is going on? He said, wait, there's no babushka? I said, no. He said, there's no dedushka? No granddad? I was like, which one? They said, there's not a little kid? And I was like, no, there's not a little kid. Getting more and more worried. Had they been abducted? It wasn't me, it was this family. So we had a talk with Miroslav. Turned out that they were in St. Petersburg for a funeral, and they would be back within a week, and could I hang out with Miroslav for a week until his parents returned? Yes, they could. So Miroslav and I spent that week figuring out how to take care of ourselves, and we had some more sour cream and boiled dumplings that had been frozen. And one morning, I awoke to a shrill voice and a slight tapping on my frosted glass door, and a little woman just barged in, and she motioned with the spooning motion, food motion, and she pulled me downstairs, and downstairs the table had been laid out, and there was this great big steaming bowl of kasha, beautiful porridge with butter in it, and jam and tea and cookies and all of this stuff for breakfast. And I sat there and I ate, and Miroslav came down about half an hour later, and she put a bag of cookies in front of him, and he ate those. And she set about to cleaning up the house and restoring everything to order. And finally, my babushka was home. I found her. Thank you.